Hi, what is up you guys? It is me, Emric, and welcome back to Movies and a Mug. The series where I sit down every week. Oh well, it used to be every week before I became just a little bit homeless. If y'all want to know more about that, check out my last video where I gave you all an update on my living situation. In a nutshell, it's a mess, but I'm hoping that it will be sorted out in the next couple of weeks. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I won't be homeless anymore. I know what you're thinking. Yes, I am the world's most attractive homeless person. Thank you for pointing that out. So last time we were here, we discussed the hilarious Christian horror movie, Unwanted Presence, which is free to watch on YouTube. Girl, that film was an MESS mess, but my video did generate just a little bit of buzz over on the Bad Movies subreddit. For those of you who don't know, r/Bad Movies is a resource that I use all the time to get new bad movie recommendations and sometimes just to find stuff to watch when I'm bored. And just like me, there are a load of people in there who really love bad movies. So whenever I film one of these videos, I tend to post it over there and then just have a little chat with people in the comments about the piece of trash that we all just watched. And honestly, Unwanted Presence had the most traction out of anything I've ever posted on there. So I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to read a couple of the comments and then just, share my thoughts. So Reddit user Captain Dizzy Whiskers said, just watched the whole thing on YouTube. The movie was absolutely fucking bananas from start to finish. The best part was the film being written by one of the Christian exorcist couple who show up at the end. So the whole thing is basically an ad for their ghost busting services. And I had absolutely no idea about that, and that is hilarious. I love it. People use film as a way to promote their shitty services. That is really, really funny. And to be honest, I hope that it brings them at least one customer, but they get in way over their head. I hope that they go to the most haunted house that exists and have a full-on Annabelle experience. There were then a couple of really long comments by users such as Hannibal Rex, who noted that they feel a lot of the times when people try and make something that is touted as Christian X or religious X type of movie, that they really box themselves into stuff and that they don't allow themselves to really explore the subject matter because they keep constantly wanting to bring it back to Jesus. They keep wanting to constantly bring what they're talking about back to, and it all can be solved with the power of the Lord, which, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of agree with, especially in this movie. I think that Unwanted Presence actually maybe had a couple of interesting points that it could have raised and could have explored if it wasn't so tethered to constantly just being like, and the answer is prayer. I feel like horror movies in particular often lean quite heavily on things like prayer or exorcism in order to solve, the problem that they're facing. And in doing so, they are touting a Christian message. So honestly, I don't really see why the movie decided to take all of the horror elements out of itself. And then there were quite a few more comments, but I would like to highlight my favorite comment by Reddit user Vince Steeples, who said, at first I thought the dude in drag was the star of this Christian movie and I was confused as fuck. And thank you so much. I will be in a movie, in cinemas circa 2023. So keep your eyes peeled because this dude in drag might actually be the star of an upcoming movie. Okay, well maybe not the star, but at least a supporting role with lines, okay? I told y'all I was an actor. Okay, so let's get into today's video, shall we? So as I mentioned in my last video, I don't have none of my shit, I don't have none of my costumes, I don't have none of my wigs. So we're not gonna be doing makeup. I know it's called Movies and a Mug, and I'm supposed to be doing a mug, but instead of that, we are going to be continuing with a project that I've got going on, which involves stoning a corset. Those of you who don't know, stoning is the process of adding things like rhinestones, bugle beads, beads, jewels, and whatnot. Any of these large stones, so these ones, these ones, these ones, are going to be sewn on using clear wire. And then any of these little appliques, all the smaller beads, are just going to be glued on with some E6000. All right, enough waffle. Let's get into the movie. So this week, we are talking about a more recent film, in fact a very recent film. This film came out in 2021. This is a pandemic release, bitch. This is a pandemia special, and oh my, is this movie special. This movie is a kind of weird, and in all the best ways. It's a very black comedy, kind of reminiscent of things like the Santa Clarita Diet. Maybe you could liken it to Sweeney Todd if Sweeney Todd was like a buddy comedy. And if you've seen either of those movies, you know exactly where I'm going with this, because today's movie is a cannibal movie. So if you're not into cannibal movies, or you know, you have some kind of moral stance against cannibalism, then I would say that maybe this is not one for you. But if, like me, you're a terrible nightmare goblin, feel free to stick around, because honestly, this is one of the better bad movies that I think I've ever reviewed. Like, this movie got a good few laughs from me. Like, I was telling a couple of friends about this movie and they were like, what the fuck would you watch this? Like, just the synopsis alone sounds terrible. And I was like, well, yeah, but I guess it is what it is. You gotta laugh at the darkness, you know? So if you're not into cannibals, maybe sit this one out. But otherwise, this is 2021's Some Like It Rare. So Some Like It Rare is a French film. Oh, wait. Very, very cultured, if I do say so myself. And given that I was very recently in the great city of Paris, very recently in the great country of France, I thought this was a very timely movie to kind of come across my path. And yes, in case you were wondering, when I say it is a French movie, I do mean it is both produced and shot in France, but also it is all in French. So if you, much like myself, je ne parle pas le français, then, you know, you're gonna have to watch it with subtitles. Je suis désolé, mon français est mauvais. Oh, fuck. So, the movie opens on our two main characters. They are a couple named Sophie and Vincent. The movie actually opens in their butcher shop where Vincent is serving a customer. And it becomes immediately apparent that Sophie has kind of had it with Vincent. She's not really featuring him right now. She's, for lack of a better phrase, sick of his shit. And when she is not sick, she is tired. She is sick and tired. I've points to anyone who gets that relatively obscure reference. So the customer gets their meat and leaves, and then Sophie very directly tells Vincent that maybe if he spent a little less time rubbing his meat and paid a little more attention to her, she wouldn't be so dissatisfied, which you're gonna see a lot of that kind of thing from Sophie in this movie. She is a very direct, and she also really enjoys letting Vincent know he is just garbage. She tells him over and over and over again that you ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be shit. You're poor, you're broke, you don't satisfy me in bed. Like, she goes off on him all the time, and whilst it is funny, it's also a little bit harsh. Don't talk to your partner like that. But then, boom, the shop is attacked. A bunch of people break in, start smashing the counters, pour red paint all over the meat, and start shouting, V-Power, V-Power, because they are vegan activists. Okay. This is the first point that I would just call straight bullshit on this movie. Like, I really don't give a flying fuck about the vegans in this movie being depicted as like crazy eco-warrior activists. Like, you know, that's a character choice. That's on that. They can deal with that. I ain't no vegan. I'm not gonna pick that fight today. But what I will call bullshit on is the concept of roaming vigilante vegan gangs, especially in France. It is hilarious to me because the French can barely cope with vegetarians, let alone vegans. My fly is undone. Ooh. But anyway, you know, we're not here to really talk about that. This is a movie about eating people, so let's carry on. Okay, so cut to the next scene and Sophie is hanging out with a friend of hers. She's cutting up some carrots, preparing for dinner, and she's like, babe, we are fucked. The bank aren't gonna give us a loan. Like, the vegans smashed up our shop. How are we gonna replace all of the lost produce? Not to mention the damage to the store. Like, it's just so much money. And her friend is immediately just like, you know, my husband makes 12,000 euros a month. Like, you should just do what I did. Quit your job and go find you a rich man. Like, it's honestly so much easier. And I mean, she's not wrong, is she? I don't hate the player and I don't hate the game. Like, if I could, honestly, I would be a stay-at-home husband in a heartbeat. I would have my little brunches, you know? I'd have my little charities, my pursuits. That would be the life for me. Sophie's like, girl, read the room. I'm poor. She's just like, don't be poor then, which is great advice to give to someone who's poor, you know? Have you ever just considered not being poor? Funnily enough, considering that didn't really help the situation, but here we are. And then the friend is just like, girl, are you sure that Vincent is the one for you? Because, like, he's poor, he's not giving you what you want, you two aren't fucking, because it might behoove you to just leave him, just dump him and go get a rich man. Again, I'm not mad at the game. And as you know, as you'll find out, if Sophie would have just listened to her fucking friend, she wouldn't have become a cannibal, but I'm jumping ahead. So the rich friends then give Vincent a gun and call him a faggot. Which, usually at this point I would ring my homophobia alarm, but it's in storage, so I can't. However, I also want to point out that these friends are also hella racist. I mean, shit, I was ragging on this movie for not being accurate enough to modern day France, but hey, I guess Le Pen was just this close to being elected, so maybe this is reflective of the Republic in its current state. Liberté, égalité, fraternité, my beautiful brown behind. Anyway, so they leave their terrible friend's house, and Sophie has just had it. She has just had it with Vincent. She's like, those guys are killing it. They're rich. They have multiple stores. They have beautiful houses. They have sex. We don't even have that, Vincent. You fucking impotent little bitch. And again, it's like, what? Sophie has zero chill. Like, she lets him have it. Out of the corner of Vincent's eye, whilst he is driving, he sees one of the guys who attacked his store just kind of like riding along the road. And so, what does he do? What is any man to do in this situation? He runs him the fuck over.
Je vais lui péter la gueule à poil de 40. Il va voir le rouquin.
Side note, Vincent also gets out of the car, obviously knowing that this was a vegan who came and attacked his shop, and was like, huh, you know, if he ate meat, he probably would have been a bit tougher, which is savage, but also, that's kind of funny. Point one. Movie. So Vincent over here is like, oh shit, bro, like, I just don't hit this guy with my car. He's dead. Time to call the po-po. And Sophie immediately is like, stop being such a dumb bitch. You're drunk. You have an unregistered firearm in the car. You're brown. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? You cannot call the police. You will go to jail. And so Sophie just immediately, just right off the bat, is like, I know about this guy who was a serial killer who chopped up his victims and then hid them in garbage bags throughout the city. We should just totally do that. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of obsessed with. Like, come on, we've all watched at least a little bit of Bailey Sarian. Sophie, the entire way through this movie, is just, she's just idea after idea after idea. Chop them up, kill them, skin them, eat them. She really does not play any games. I'm not gonna lie, there is a bit of social commentary there as well though, you know? It's like you watch one flight simulator and suddenly you're trying to give pilots advice on how to stick a landing. It's very, here's a tutorial for how to drive a Russian tank. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. And I guess Vincent must have thought it was a pretty good idea because next thing you know, he is chopping him up like a Christmas turkey. He has got him splayed out on that butcher's table and he's just... For anyone who was curious, when I say hacking him up, you see the guy's full body being dismembered. Like, you see his betweenst me down there is just being whipped into a waste bin, and there was something so funny about that to me. There was something so fucking funny. I could not hold, I cackled. Just the image of this guy's severed cock landing in a waste bin. Oh, honestly. Okay, so the next morning, Vincent is kind of tired, you know, from dismembering a body, and Sophie is the one who opens their butcher shop alone. Sophie kind of sets up, getting everything organized. She opens, they have a couple of customers, she sells some ham. But when Pascal wakes up and comes downstairs, he is immediately like, bitch, where'd my ham go? And then the customer from the very beginning of the movie, you know, the one where Vincent was rubbing his meat, comes in and he's like, babe, that ham that you sold me earlier today, fire. And Vincent is like, no, don't have any more of that ham. Girl, don't eat the ham, don't eat the ham, don't eat the ham. But Sophie's like, dude, what's your problem? If she wants the ham, give her the ham. So the customer really seems to like it, and she is insisting that she gets more information. She's like, it's the best I've ever had. Did you change your supplier or something? Vincent's like, yeah, I changed my supplier. It's actually Iranian pork. After the revolution, you know, they said no more pork, but I found like a supplier. Then Sophie tries a bit of this new ham and she's like, oh yeah, girl, this is real good. Like, why have I never tried this before? I didn't even know we sold this. And so once the customer leaves, Sophie's like, girl, that is not Iranian pork. Like, what is that? And then Vincent divulges that he didn't really want to cut up the body that they killed the previous night and hide it in garbage bags throughout the city because, like, that just kind of seemed like a lot of effort. So what he was going to do instead was cut up the body and then dispose of it along with the extra meat from the butcher shop, which actually kind of seems like a smart idea. So then instead of freaking out, instead of being like, are you telling me that I just ate human? Sophie is like, that was fucking delicious. That was mighty. Run me some of that. I could go for round 2. And this for me is where Sophie becomes kind of insidious as a character because she really takes to eating human flesh and she legitimizes it to herself so quickly. She's like, yeah, I just ate human flesh, but like, I eat the body of Christ at church, so is that really any different? Girl, the body of Christ is a fucking vanilla wafer. You're not actually eating some guy's toe, but she's into it, she's feeling it, and then all of a sudden, the word gets around, and hella people are just showing up to buy this Iranian pork. So that night, they close the shop, and Pascal is like, maybe I should give it a go. So he goes, he cooks himself up a little fillet steak, you know, a little vegan filet mignon. And he sits down, he has a taste, and he's like, that's some good shit right there. And Sophie comes in and she's like, right? Like, isn't it good? You know what we should do? We should kill all the vegans that we can find, chop them up, and then sell them in the store. And that would like solve all of our money problems, hike up the prices, and we could be rich. I mean, I can see the logic, but Sophie goes there so quick. Let's go kill all the vegans. Let's chop them up, sell them for meat. It's gonna be such a good business venture. Zero moral quandaries, zero qualms. Like, this is what we should do. Vincent, are you in? But Vincent says no, and we cut to the next day, and we're introduced to Vincent and Sophie's daughter. And like, she has a whole subplot that, to be honest, I was not very interested in. So I'm probably gonna skip a fair amount to do with the daughter. It doesn't involve eating people, so I'm not interested. But she just so happens to be dating a vegan. And this vegan, he is a hella rude. He is just going off at the mouth about how butchers are the worst. Girl, you're coming into these people's houses and then judging their life choices. Like, why don't you just stay your ass at home? So immediately after they leave, Vincent has fucking had it and he's like, hey, Soph, you wanna go kill some vegans? And she's like, yes, 100%, pure love, let's go, I'll drive. So they decide to go shopping for a vegan. They head to this little vegan cafe, they're strolling around, looking for who they might, you know, choose as their next victim. And then Vincent makes a very interesting point because he says that he really wants to find a transsexual vegan because this movie is so fucking problematic. The best beef comes from castrated bulls. I'm not gonna ring the homophobia alarm because I'm not gonna front that did get a chuckle from me, okay? It made me giggle. 2 points. 2 points for the movie. Sophie's like, well then we're fucked. Like, where are we supposed to find a young, virile, chilled transsexual vegan? The answer is TikTok. Okay, so they settle on a guy that they're gonna kill and they follow him. And Vincent goes after him with a butcher's knife, but he can't quite do it. Like, he chickens out at the last minute and the guy turns around and sees him with a knife and just starts screaming. In response to this guy seeing him coming at him with a knife, Vincent just stops. And all of a sudden, you know what? I'm not even going to explain it. Just watch the clip. Again, incredibly offensive, but he just runs down the street screaming this and gets into his little Renault Kangoo and then tells Sophie he didn't want anyone to think it was him, so he just shouted it so they'd all blame the Muslims. At least this movie goes after everyone, you know? It really does run the gambit. Like, it doesn't pick on any one particular group. It's kind of like South Park. Not deterred from their failure, Vincent and Sophie decide that they're gonna go online and they're gonna like arrange a rendezvous with a vegan activist, you know, so they have easier access to their prey. So they meet up with this vegan activist who has planned a raid on an abattoir. But when they get there, it's not just one dude like they initially anticipated. It's actually a group of vegan activists. And this abattoir that they're going to raid is actually owned by their posh, snooty, rich friends from earlier. And so Sophie is like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go and like wreck these people's livelihood. But Vincent is like, I get to stick it to these rich people. Fuck yes, I'm in. He's setting shit on fire. He's pissing on things. He's got a bat and he's just wrecking shop. And afterwards, Vincent's like, that was actually a lot of fun. I'm not really sure that I want to do murder, but like arson and property destruction, she's kind of puss. But Sophie's not having it. She's like, listen, stop pussying out. We had a plan. We had a plan to kill some vegans. And he's like, no, fuck this. I'm out. See you later. So he leaves and then Sophie starts talking to the waiter and they start bonding over their love of serial killers and serial killer documentaries. And it's like, girl, you're not even going to be like a little bit subtle. You're just going to be in public talking about how much you like serial killers. I mean, you just helped kill a dude, but okay. So since Vincent stormed out, the waiter offers to take Sophie back home, and as we all know, Sophie is very unhappy in her marriage, so the two kind of start making out a little bit, and she finds out that the waiter is actually a vegan. Sophie lures him upstairs into the apartment and then goes to Vincent and is like, hey, I've just been making out with this dude. You're not satisfying me enough. And this guy, making out with him was the first time I've felt anything in months. The taste of his tongue in my mouth. The feeling of his strong, muscular hands on my body. And it sends Vincent just over the edge. Meanwhile, the vegan is obviously like, hey, I'm finna fuck this woman in front of her husband. So he just gets butt-ass naked. And when Vincent goes into the room to, you know, kill him, essentially, he's just full-on stalkers. And he's like, hey, so are we gonna do this? You wanna watch or you wanna join in?
Tu veux que je la baisse comment, ta femme? Pardon?
Oh, ça va.
Can I just take a moment to say, this guy is fine. Like, this vegan waiter dude is fine. He is fine as hell. He is so fine. It's making me hungry. Anyway, Vincent gets annoyed and then bashes his head in with a lamp. Then their daughter shows up and blah blah blah, something about her subplot that I don't care about. Sophie tells a story about how when she was little, she had a best friend that was a bunny and she really loved this bunny and like she took care of it. I think his name was Fluffy or something. She really loved this bunny and then one day her dad just decided to turn it into stew and make her eat it. Which, you know, I'm just thinking, just an impartial observer here. Maybe there's some unresolved trauma that you're letting play out in your adult life. Just throwing it out there. We then just have a montage, just a full-on montage of them wrecking shop. Like, they are killing every single vegan they can get their hands on. Left, right, and center. And in like different ways. Sometimes they're shooting them, sometimes they're stabbing them. You know, sometimes they're chasing them around the woods and they're having heart attacks. But they do make a little mistake. You see, they go over to their posh friend's house and they bring them some of their wares to sample. You know, they bring them a little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of Maggie by my side, a little bit of Jessica, who I am, a little poo-poo platter of people. And it just so happens that one of the Richie Richies bites into the meat and pulls out a pacemaker. And Vincent's like, oh, no, it's like a microchip for tracking animals. And she's like, no, it's not. I used to work in a hospital. That's a pacemaker. And then they end up having an argument. And then Vincent bites off the ear of one of the guys that they're having lunch with.
Il la mâche.
Il devrait bouffer plus de légumes, hein?
And then, you know, these rich white people are onto them. Cut to Vincent and Sophie attend a farmer's market. And this is about to get kind of weird. And out of the corner of his eye, Vincent spots a fat little boy. And Vincent's immediate response is, fuck, I really want to eat that child.
Lève les bras.
Will be at peace if I get to hold you, darling.
That is grade A Wagyu beef. And immediately he's kind of horrified with himself. He's like, oh fuck, I'm just a full cannibal now. I think I'm in too deep. He runs off and he's like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. But they run into the daughter and her boyfriend at this vegan fair. And then the boyfriend like yells at them for, I don't know, like being butchers. And who witnesses their altercation? One of the guys who was with them when they raided the abattoir earlier in the movie. So now the abattoir gang know that Vincent and Sophie are not vegans, but they are in fact butchers. Cut to the next day and the butcher's shop is all out of Iranian pork. But some shady vegans have been tracking them since they learned of their true identity at the vegan fair. And they're like, we are gonna get revenge on these people. And it isn't exactly that they know that these are the people who have been stealing vegans or killing vegans or anything like that. They basically want to make them pay for pretending to be vegans, which seems a bit odd, but anyway, they kidnap Sophie. They lock her in a freezer and they're like, bitch, you are gonna pay for killing all these animals and for being a butcher. I mean, I get it, vegans can be passionate, but it doesn't usually lead them to kidnapping people and, you know, locking them in freezers so that they can decapitate them. I guess we need this to the story. But just before any real harm can be done to Sophie, Vincent finds them and just starts having a full-on knife fight with the vegans. Like, they are hacking each other up. People are getting stabbed in the face. It is intense. Vincent then gets stabbed. It is a whole ass mess. And that is basically the end of the movie. Like after it's done, all of the vegans are dead. And so Sophie and Vincent kind of leave. Like, they limp out of this freezer together, having defeated the vegans. And you're kind of like, oh, okay, so I guess they're good. I guess they're just gonna carry on killing people. But no, you then cut to like a true crime documentary and Sophie and Pascal are the criminals, and the presenter is explaining that they went on a hunt for vegans and then butchered them and sold them in their shop. You then cut to the annoying, racist, elitist, homophobic people, and it turns out that they are the ones that, you know, dobbed them in after finding the pacemaker and kind of putting two and two together. And it's like, wait, so these are the heroes? These are the heroes of the story? Oh, okay. It's not going to be like the vegans find out that, you know, there's been like a mass murderer who's been hunting them and, you know, stops them or anything. No. The racist, homophobic white people are the heroes of the story. So, okay, cool. And then Vincent and Sophie are just sentenced to life in prison. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. That's the end. Okay. So, usually this is the point where I would go change into my costume, do my lashes, do my lips, and we'd have some final thoughts. But I can't do that today. So I'm gonna show you my stoning progress. Like, look at her. She's looking good. She is looking good. She's very showgirl. She's gonna be very burlesque when I'm done, you know? I'm really excited. She's gonna look cute. You will definitely see her, you know, on my Instagram or in an upcoming video. Like, you know, I'll show you the full finished garment when she's complete. Yes, I will indeed. So make sure to come back and stay tuned for that. But what did I think of this movie? This film is probably one of the better movies that I've reviewed. Like, the concept is fucking stupid. And of course, it is a B movie. Like, it is a ridiculous, stupid B movie. The characters are wholly unlikable, especially Sophie, but also Vincent. Like, they are both unlikable characters. Is it a bad movie? Again, yes. And whilst the execution is good and it's really well shot and it is funny, like, this is a funny movie, I don't really feel like they stuck the ending. To me, it seemed like they just ran out of filming days, or maybe they had like an alternative ending planned that just didn't quite work out, and so they just kind of went with the backup option. It seemed kind of shoehorned in at the end. I didn't really get a very good payoff. But other than that, this movie is a lot of fun. Like, this movie got some dark chuckles out of me. It is a black comedy. If you are not willing to laugh at cannibalism, dismemberment, racism, homophobia, transphobia, Islamophobia, you really have to be either stoned out of your mind or really in the mood to have a dark chuckle to enjoy this film. I probably won't watch it again just for the fun of it, but it is definitely something that I will show to friends. Okay guys, that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you enjoyed stoning with me. If you did, make sure to leave a like, a comment and subscribe, and next time I am here, I don't know when that is because as I said, I am homeless at the moment. Things are a little bit iffy. But next time I'm here, we are going to be making a return to the glorious land of passion flicks. They still get charged $5.99 every single month, and I'm gonna make good goddamn use of it. So buckle up, strap in, because next time is gonna be a fun one. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!